So many questions are asked, and I'm sitting here going through them, just being able to help so many different people with so many different scenarios. I've helped support hundreds and hundreds of clients. I've closed millions and millions of dollars in loans. And there's always questions asked, thousands of questions that have been asked to me. And what I've noticed is that a lot of these questions are all the same, and you can categorize them and put them wherever you want, but they're all the same. So we're gonna do a 3-part series over the next 3 weeks, going over some of the most frequently asked questions that I receive, and I've compiled them here, and we're gonna go through them and answer them, and really get down to the roots, really get down to the basics of what it means to buy a house and answering the questions that you wanna know. So let's just get into this. But before we do, my name is Daniel. I run this channel. If you're interested in about faith and finance, how to buy a house, get pre-approved, and really start your home buying journey, but also learn how to be a confident leader, make sure you smash that subscribe button. So yeah, we got a lot of questions, a lot of things that are being asked, and I'm just gonna go through them. I got them right here on my phone. We're gonna go right down the list, and I'm just gonna answer some questions that you guys have so that we can make sure that we are tackling the things that you wanna know. So here's the first question that I get asked all the time. Do I need 20% down to purchase a house? Here's the short answer. No, you don't need 20% down to purchase a house. A lot of times you might not even need any money down. But if I was gonna break this down and answer this question in a general term, it all depends on your financial situation. Now, if you have 20% down, should you put it down? Not necessarily. Again, everything's gonna be different and every scenario is different. So let's break this down a little bit further. If you're a veteran or a military home buyer, one of the things that you have is a VA loan. Well, VA loans are 100% financing, meaning you don't have to bring any money towards a down payment to closing. You don't have to come out of pocket. You don't have to spend any money at closing if you don't want to. Whenever you hear that word, 100% financing, it means that you don't have a down payment. If you're going with an FHA loan or a conventional loan, all words thrown around, FHA, the minimum down payment is 3.5%. So whatever the sales price is, times it by 3.5%, and that's how much money you're gonna have to bring to the table. If it's a conventional loan, the minimum down payment is 3%. Most people put down 5%. Now again, the same way it calculates across all loans. Take the sales price and times it by how much money you're putting down, and that is the amount of money that you will have to bring as a down payment. Most people know that if you bring 20% down, you will not have mortgage insurance. But really, mortgage insurance is not that expensive to where it could make a big difference. Here's what I suggest. I would suggest comparing the payments between putting 5% down and 20% down and see, is it truly worth making that investment in my house? Or could I have a greater return in some other way? A lot of questions. Can I afford a certain sales price of a house? I'll just grab this one. It says, can we afford a $700,000 home? Great question. What we're gonna look at is something called debt to income. And debt to income takes your monthly liabilities. And when I say liabilities, I'm talking about that credit card, that car payment, different things that you have monthly that you're obligated to. We're gonna look at those monthly payments. Now, a lot of people always, they call me and tell me, well, I got a $5,000 credit card, am I gonna qualify? That's fine if you have a $5,000 balance on your credit card. If your payment every month is only $30 a month, that's what we care about. We care about the monthly payment towards those credit cards, towards that car note, towards the student loans. So we'll look at your monthly liabilities, and then we'll look at your gross income. Gross. Notice how I didn't say net, which means after taxes. We look at your gross income. So we'll take your debt and we'll divide it by your income, and then we'll get a number. Now you might ask yourself, what is that number? How could I calculate my debt to income? Great question. So all you gotta do is take your debt and divide it by the income. That number, depending on the loan product, will tell you exactly what you need. So for conventional loans, typically we want them to be less than 50% debt to income. So less than 0.5. For an FHA loan, we want it to be less than 56.99. So 0.5699. For a VA loan, there's no cap to debt to income. Now, general rule of thumb is you want it less than 57%, but VA looks at residual income. VA looks at another layer to see if you can qualify for a house. A lot of times you can go higher than 57% if you have a really strong credit score and you have money in the bank. Debt to income is the biggest indicator on how much of a house you can afford. It's very easy to get caught up in all these questions and worry. I see a lot of people that go through the home buying process and they're worried about a lot of things. They're worried about purchasing a house, what to expect, and how to navigate this process. And in reality, it's not that difficult if you have the right team and you have the right people to support you and guide you through it. Let's pick another one, because we need to understand this upfront process. We need to understand what it takes to purchase a house, and these questions are so good. Here's a really good one. Where can a down payment come from? This is a great question, because whenever money moves, it can become an issue. And what I mean by money moving, a down payment is the minimum required amount of funds that you as the buyer have to put down on purchasing a house. Now, when you put a down payment, that money doesn't necessarily have to come from your bank account. It can come from other sources, but you have to be very careful with who you're receiving this money from. Let's go over a couple examples on where down payment funds can come from. So number one, your checking and your savings. That's a given. As long as the money is in there, it's been sitting in there, it's called seasoned. As long as it's been in the bank, we can use those funds. Now, let's say you have an FHA loan and you have a close friend or a relative that wants to give you money for a down payment. You can do that. You can receive it. Now, let's say you're on a conventional loan and you have a close friend that wants to give you a down payment. You can't do that. Conventional loans don't allow you to receive money from a close friend, because everybody's got a cousin out there. We got to make sure that the cousin is defined and you can show that relationship with that. You got to be very careful where money comes from. Cash, stay away from cash. If you have a relative that goes and withdraws, $1,000 from the ATM and gives it to you and you put it in your bank, we might not be able to use that money because we can't track it. It's all about tracking the money and seeing where it's coming from and making sure it's an acceptable source. We want to make sure that the loan officer or the real estate agent, they're not giving you money to help you close on this house. That's just not acceptable. It's not allowed. So always verify. If you're getting ready to move money, you always want to make sure that you verify with your loan officer that it comes from an acceptable source and that documentation can be provided. I get asked this question as a bonus. Can I use a 401k? Absolutely, you can borrow against your 401k in order to put towards a down payment. Whenever you borrow against a 401k, there's some documents that we get, withdrawals, proof that you withdrew it, terms of withdrawal, and then proof that you've deposited in your bank account. All acceptable sources of a down payment. Maybe you own a house currently and you want to take out money on that house and buy another one and upgrade. Hey, great news. You can use a home equity line of credit as a down payment towards another house. So if you've ever wondered if you're able to do that, do the home equity line while it's still the house you're living in. And then if you decide to upgrade later on, you can use those funds in order to upgrade into another house. Great question. And these get asked all the time. All the time. The reason I love these questions is because the more that we talk and the more good information that is out there, the easier it is for people to purchase a house. Here's one. How do I get pre-approved? Another great question, because the pre-approval process looks very different for a lot of different loan officers. Every loan officer has their different process. Here's what I'll give you advice on. If you have a loan officer that just takes an application and sends you a letter and doesn't explain anything, I would potentially check on another loan officer. Because here's why. You need to understand as the client what you're doing, what you're getting yourself into. Understand that getting pre-approved is not just a simple fill out an application and get a letter. It should really consist of a process that is transparent, that empowers and educates you as the home buyer to understand what all the words are, understand what all the moving pieces are. What does underwriting look for? What is a closing process? What documents am I signing? You need to understand that as a home buyer. So when you get pre-approved, you'll start out by talking to a loan officer. You want to get your finances in order first. I can't tell you how many times I've had people go look for houses that they don't qualify for. So the most important thing to remember is talk to a loan officer first. And then once you talk to a loan officer and we get your finances in order, we can connect you with a real estate agent who can help guide you through the rest of the process. Once you fill out an application or a mortgage questionnaire, this is going to put all your finances on paper where we can run our internal systems, and then we can sit down with you face to face and say, hey, here's what you qualify for. Here's a comfortable monthly payment. Are you comfortable with it? Just because you're pre-approved up to $800,000 doesn't mean you need to spend $800,000. Maybe you're pre-approved up to $800,000, but you can only afford and be comfortable with a payment at $400,000. That's not a problem. Don't let anybody push you into a house that you're not comfortable with. You're hearing that from me. Don't ever be pushed or pressured into a house that you're not comfortable with. It's not worth it. Once you fill out that questionnaire and you're comfortable, and once you're pre-approved, the loan officer will give you what's called a pre-approval letter, and you can go ahead and go shopping for that dream house. Go make offers on homes. The pre-approval process is not scary. Don't let a credit pull deter you from getting pre-approved. If it was me and I was getting pre-approved for a house, I want my credit pulled because I want the surety of what I'm doing and when I make offers. Let's get one more question out there. And again, this is gonna be a 3-part series. So you're gonna make sure that you come back next week for part 2, because this is gonna be something that we're gonna do. We're gonna really just go into the process of what you wanna know, not what I'm gonna give you. I wanna know what you wanna know. Let's go, let's see here. Oh, here's a good question. Can I buy a house and rent out my rooms? Absolutely. What I see a lot of, especially military home buyers, what they do is they use their VA loan and they purchase a property that has 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and what they do is they rent it out to their friends. So they could purchase a property with multiple bedrooms and rent out the other rooms to their friends and basically have their mortgage covered. I'm sure a lot of people rather sleep in a house than the barrack. So if you're a VA buyer and you're interested in using your VA loan, know that you can rent out those other homes. But what's also really cool with a VA loan is you can purchase a multifamily property. So I worked with this VA buyer one time, and he was smart. He came to me and said, hey, I want to purchase a 4-unit property, a quadplex is what it's called. And he bought this quadplex using his VA loan, had no money down. And then he came back to me and he was living in one of the units. He was renting out the other 3 and he was turning a profit every single month. What was crazy is that as he progressed in life, got married, he knew that he needed to upgrade. So what did he do? He used his VA loan again, because you never run out of your VA loan. You can always use it. You just have to make sure you don't have too many properties tied to it. But he had enough of what we call entitlement to purchase another property. He actually moved out and went and purchased a single family home in the same area. So he had 4 units, 4 basically rooms or living spaces being rented out to people that he knew, and he was living in his primary residence. It was a great way that he was turning residual income every month. If you're in the military, this is one of the best things that you can do, because you can generate residual income, meaning you can generate money coming in every single month to your pocket, which in return could potentially cover your mortgage payment to where you're not coming out of pocket anything. I know you'd like to keep that BAH, right? Let's maximize your BAH by using this tactic. All right, I lied, one more. Oh, this is a good one. I'm buying a house. Should I get a home inspection? Great question. There's a difference between a home inspection and an appraisal when you're in the process of purchasing a house. Let me explain it, right? A home inspection is going to go in, a home inspector is going to go in. He's going to find everything wrong with the house. I don't blame him, that's the job, right? But some of those things that you're seeing on the home inspection aren't a big deal. Like, they're suggestions, but they're not a huge deal. They shouldn't be a deal killer. I see so many people get scared about their home inspection that they give up on an amazing house and sometimes an amazing deal. Don't allow a home inspection to scare you away, because there's also room to negotiate with sellers to fix some of the things on the home inspection. So make sure you don't allow a home inspection to deter you from purchasing a property that you love. Make sure you take in the information. Now, if there's major issues, health and safety, yeah, there should be a conversation on what you should do. But if it's because there's an outlet cover missing, we probably can take care of that. We can get you an outlet cover to put on there by an electrician. Just put the outlet cover on there. Don't let that deter you from walking away from a house. And then an appraisal is not a home inspection. Appraisal is completely separate, completely different cost too. An appraisal is going to go into a neighborhood and it's going to look at a surrounding area. It's going to provide comparables to justify the value of your house. Now, this is going to give you, what is your home value? What is your home worth? This is an appraisal. This is a big piece that lenders care about, because we're never going to lend more than a house is worth. That wouldn't make sense. So an appraisal is required. A home inspection is not required. However, it is highly encouraged to get. So I hope a couple of these questions that I answered today just help you in this home buying process. The goal is to keep you moving forward in this and educated, and give you a place that you can always refer back to for education and for knowledge in this process. I'm going to be coming back for part 2 next week, talking about more questions that you guys have sent in. And if you have any questions that you want answered, drop it in the comments below or shoot me an email. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because it really helps grow education information and grow empowerment in the home buying process. There's so many voices out there that I just want it to come from a true and healthy place. God bless you. God bless your family. And always, I appreciate you for visiting the page and checking out the video. Until next week, tune in for part 2 next week.